Welcome to the Welsh Yogi Podcast.
Okay, everyone, welcome to episode 50 of the Welsh Yogi Podcast. Bang!
Yes.
So
It's a momentous occasion. 50 episodes. It's been 2 years exactly since we made our first episode.
right.
We've had a total of 5,000 downloads.
Mm-hmm.
Just crossed that. So that's 100 downloads per episode on average.
It's pretty.
Decent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for coming along for the ride. I think it was cool, right, Gopal? It feels like a lot's happened in 2 years.
Yeah, it has. I mean, we started probably in the pandemic, right?
Yeah, it was like the height of lockdown.
Yeah. Everyone started to do podcasts, wasn't it?
Mm.
But I think,
Wisdom of the Sages.
yeah,
That was for me. That inspired me a lot.
yeah.
It's like an American Bhakti Yoga podcast. They're still going. They're on like episode 900 or something. Yeah.
See, my original thought of it was, when I was thinking of it originally, was different to the way you were thinking of it, I think. But
You were thinking short videos, right?
because I wasn't as familiar with what podcasts are these days, so I was listening to Badra Sain's Entrepreneur podcasts, and they would basically like he would just be talking about a certain topic for like 15-20 minutes. And
Yeah, like really well researched.
yeah, it was very
Presented.
very impressive. But yeah.
Because I've been a podcast nerd for my whole life, so not my whole life. But
I find them easier to listen to, than sometimes I listen to lectures or listen to like an audiobook, and while I'm driving, maybe if I start to feel a bit sleepy, but podcasts I can sort of-
Podcasts keep you awake somehow, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a bit more easy listen. Shout out to my cousin Jessica from Porthcawl. She listened to the podcast. Remember the podcast a few episodes ago where we talked for like over an hour?
Oh yeah.
He was talking about like science and all of that.
She listened to that, did she?
She told me she listened to it and she was like, yeah, it's not bad. Like,
Oh.
it's quite funny.
Yeah.
She used to be a Christian, or maybe she still is a Christian. She was vibing off it.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's an easy listening podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit distracted at the minute because I just got a message through that, Max
Ruggles.
Ruggles has passed away. Yeah, he's died. The police called his mother, and said that he's died. They're going to do an autopsy, see what caused his death. But he's must have been 37 years old. I remember when I was first coming to Christian consciousness, he was around all the time, especially in Cardiff, and he had to deal with different things in his life. But there's just been so many, like the Queen. There's been a lot of deaths this year. We've had one of our Miss Rani. She lost her sister. We said in the last episode that Nimai Pandit has left his body. So it's and I think it's something that you're not really trained to deal with. I mean, in the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada explains that. Well, I mean, Krishna, when he talks about the items of knowledge, he says that the perception of the difficulties of birth, death, old age, and disease, actually understanding these things is an item of knowledge. So, and Prabhupada says these things, they should be discussed, because people don't know how do you process these things, A lot of the time, at the funeral, then people might become a little bit reflective, and then you just carry on. But yeah, I think it's something that doesn't really get.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, especially if there's no, if you have no spiritual understanding or knowledge, then it's the annihilation of your existence. Yeah.
It's funny how even with spiritual knowledge, it still hits you hard. It sounds like I didn't really think about the Queen so much, but like she's been there for our whole life, and like this figure.
Yeah.
So like I was on like a little Jaffa walk in Cardiff Bay, and I walked past. They've got like a little Hawaiian outside bar,
Yeah.
and they had the funeral on there, the procession. I just like stood and watched it, and I got proper emotional.
I've seen young men and get
Crying and stuff.
I didn't get emotional at all about it.
I kind of did, because it was like they were playing bagpipes. It's like a crown's on top of there, and just for me, it's just that topic of, okay, life is actually temporary. And this figure that's been in our lives, even though we don't really know her, and she's not a big massive effect on our life, but still, it's just a reminder that
she's on all the coins and all the money that we had, and and that's say they. What was that story where the guru could see, like, okay, this person isn't really this. He says, because he was trying to give some spiritual knowledge, and one of the listeners was, I'm not sure, I'm too into this guy, and he could see that he had some material attachment. So he took out a needle, and he says, take this needle and give it to me when we meet in our next lives. And then the person was thinking, how do I do that? And then it struck him, then I can't even take this needle with me into my next life. Therefore, why do I hold so much importance in all these other things that I accrue in this world? Like you said, the crown is still there. The Queen has moved on, but all the crown and all, the jewels and the palace and the family and everything, that's stayed here. So you come into this world with nothing, and you can be born as a pauper, or you can be born as a queen, and you're in this world, and you can run around and you gather things, and then eventually then you do have to leave, which is begs the question, okay, well, what's the point of it all? And I think that's where the spiritual literatures, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and even there's even some, and it's not like the Bhakti Yoga or Krishna consciousness has the monopoly on spiritual life or experiences with God either, but
it is interesting, the whole royal thing. It's a controversial topic, isn't it? Because my brother, he's like super anti-royal. He's super anti kind of elitism and people being born with an advantage. But the issue with that is it's not taken in that perspective that we've got a previous life and like a karmic path that's been carved based on our previous actions and desires.
There's a reason why there's
a reason the Queen's the Queen. And you can also see that she did exhibit like genuinely kind of pious attributes. So like attributes which will elevate a soul. Like for her whole life, she did the duty of being a queen. She didn't like rebel against her position. And she like in the Bhagavad Gita, like Krishna says, you got to do your duty and you just got to fight and be detached.
Yeah.
So she actually did do her duty, which is like a good example.
You're a fan of the Queen, yeah?
I didn't think I was until she died.
Now you're a fan.
I think so, because before I was like, when I was a kid, I just didn't know anything. I was like, I can't wait for the Queen to die so we get new money. Like that was my perspective. Like, I want a different bit of money. But now I was thinking, actually, like she was like a kind of, she represents something as well, because like the Vedic paradigm of royalty, and because we can see that like the democratic kind of system isn't very good. Like you just look at something like Brexit, like. So the general populace vote for something. Yeah,
like we said before, they
have no understanding.
You're not qualified to decide. It's like, you're giving quite
a lot of power.
Yeah, you're giving quite a, if you really look into it, quite a complicated, social political decision, and you're just giving it to the masses that most of them don't really. It
doesn't work.
Myself included, don't know the intricacies of inter-country politics and
well, the cost of it as well, isn't it? Like
Yeah, so
like if you want to, that's what Shivram Maharaj said when we were in Hungary. Is like, if he wants to get anything from the UK now,
Mhm.
they have to pay like a crazy amount of tax. So they actually send Deva Pras, one of the devotees, back to the UK to get British products and drive them back, because it's just not viable to import these things. Do you know? So like,
yeah,
so Brexit is an example of how like letting general people vote on higher decisions, it's not so great.
but yeah, so that's why, going back to the Queen, isn't it? Originally, you would have, you know, the monarch would be a person that is trained to, you know, is qualified to run a country, basically. Now you don't need any qualification to run a country. You just need to get voted in as some sort of popularity contest. And then that's why, you know, that's because people say, oh, they're born into royalty, they got so much, you know, wealth. But, you know, it used to be the case that it was because, you know, there's a story about the farmer, he's working in his field, and, you know, he's looking up in the palace and he thinks, you know, I'm working hard in this field and I could just be sitting in that palace, look at that king, you know, I wish I was the king. And then the king is looking out the window and he's thinking, I've got all these, like, so much on my mind about these different sort of, you know, affairs of different countries, these taxes, this, you know, running of the country. I've got all that. How I would long just to have the simple life of that farmer out on the field. So it used to be you have a level of comfort in accordance with how much sort of pressure you would be under. So then, because the basic understanding is that everyone should have a certain level of comfort, so that they can focus, you know, they can be happy and they can focus on, you know, developing themselves and developing their spiritual life. And then for some people that, you know, who had a huge amount to manage and a huge responsibility, then they'd need more comfort than someone who actually didn't have to worry about anything in that sense and just had a much more simple sort of place. And you know, the royal family today, I think they're impotent when it comes to a lot of, like, you know, laws and governing and things like that. But I think they do. They're
like symbolic now, right? But there is some Shakti behind them, isn't there?
Well, they do some. I mean, as Premaras was telling, Premaras is very, like, you know, very
pro-royal,
conservative. Yeah. He's, you know, but they do have apparently, like, you know, busy engagements and this that, and I don't know. But then, you know, that's so
there's a lot of darkness in the history of it.
Yeah, too, like, what was that, Prince Andrew, and, you know, going to what was his name? Something.
Jimmy Savile.
Epstein.
I don't know.
You don't know about?
I try not to pay attention to anything that's like.
This is dark.
Dark, like, because it does affect.
So Epstein's Island, basically, and all these, you know, rich, famous people were basically going to his island and, you know, having sex with all these underage girls, you know, and
yeah, it's nasty.
Allegedly, you know, you got people who, you know, on the manifestos flying to this island were Prince Andrew and other people as well, like I saw a picture, even Stephen Hawking's.
Yeah.
So it's all dark, you know.
Yeah, we can't confirm any of this stuff either, right? This is just
no, this is true. No, this
I'm just saying, from the Welsh Rugby podcast, we don't have an opinion on or know anything about that. We got to keep it on the DL if any of this is real, or you got to protect your back, like, because they're listening.
Well, he was put in jail for it. But he managed to commit suicide, quote unquote, once he was in there. In like, how did he commit suicide? They're thinking, okay, basically he had so much knowledge on all these different, you know, leaders of countries going to his island that they managed to kill him, basically. So he didn't reveal any information. But he's been arrested. It's like, you know, it's official. He is, you know.
We've read in, like,
he did have a paedophile ring, like, you know.
Yeah, in like you hear from different places, like some of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's books, like, there are, like, dark living beings, like lower entities that are in powerful positions on this Earth planet, you know.
Yeah, I
so
mean,
like rakshasas and like these sort of low vibration beings, because it's Kali Yuga. That's what the Vedas say. It's a dark age. It's an age of quarrel and hypocrisy and kind of darkness, isn't it?
yeah, you got the demons are, like Prabhupada said, it used to have like godly people warring with evil people, like Lord of the Rings or something,
Yeah.
But now you just got the all the heads of the country are all, as Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, they have the demoniac mentality of, okay, all this is mine, I want to acquire more. What you hear in World War II, what the Nazis did was these horrendous crimes, but the British and America, the other side, did equally horrendous crimes also. It's just because they won the war, then they got the luxury of writing the history. But Winston Churchill created, artificial famine in Bengal that killed, thousands and thousands of people, purposely withheld food. And what else did they do? They were tortured in anyway, all the colonies that the British have, sort of took over. They just really did some horrible stuff in history.
Yeah, a lot of atrocities and
and some of these, and a lot of the jewels from the of the royal family are just things that have been plundered, especially from India and some of the temples in India.
Yeah,
and you know what I mean.
So yeah, it's dark, it's heavy.
I don't even. My spiritual teacher, Shiv Ram Swami, was like, I don't even know how this country is still here.
Yeah,
according to karma, the amount of atrocities it's performed in the past.
I think there's a general feeling as well that that bad karma is starting to come to fruition. Like I just met my best friend from primary school. I met his parents today on the street, and his mother was saying, ever since COVID, it feels like there's like a kind of darkness has entered society. Like almost like there's a dark age coming in, or there's some kind of,
Yeah, but do you see what on the news? Was it yesterday, day before, when Putin now is, drafting in extra, something like 2 million soldiers,
or from like the public, like he's
like
the reserves,
like reserves, like ex-servicemen and stuff, and do you know what I mean? Like
he's preparing,
nuclear.
He said, "I will use nukes as well," isn't it?
Yeah.
So like,
there's but when Srila Prabhupada, he said in the future the world will take note how the Krishna consciousness movement saved the world in its darkest hour. You got, in terms of history at the minute, the Srila Prabhupada coming to the West, isn't known. Srila Prabhupada isn't known so much, but in the future, when we start to, more and more people recognize what, Srila Prabhupada is given the world, basically.
Yeah, he's given a very clear understanding of reality. Because like these topics we're talking about, like Epstein and like these different conspiracy theories, without like a firm...
It's not a conspiracy theory, it's just
but there's a lot of conspiracy theories which aren't true and which are true.
Yeah.
So like a lot of people, if they haven't got like a firm foundation in truth or in like the Vedic understanding of reality, you can see a lot of these conspiracy theories and just go deep and deep and deep and not have any understanding, not any real...
Yeah, you can really go down a rabbit hole.
You can't know if it's true or not, Do you know what I'm saying? But like now you can see, okay, there's this like these strange paedophile rings, and it makes sense because there are sort of demoniac entities which are living on Earth and have some powerful position. So like it's not like that's a conspiracy theory. It's just like, that lines up with the Vedic paradigm, and you don't have to spend too long focusing on it, because it's just the way the world is,
Yeah, you don't have to. What was that quote? I have to try and find it. There's a quote basically saying, don't get absorbed in the negative things in this world.
Yeah.
You have to.
Because that's what Vaishesha Guru always says: where attention goes, energy flows.
Yeah. And
like you become, whatever you become absorbed in, becomes absorbed in you. Like I was reading that today as well in Krishna book, is that whenever the gopis were thinking of Krishna, then Krishna automatically was thinking of the gopis. So like whenever we're thinking of Krishna, then Krishna's thinking about us. I always like so it says in the Gita, Yeyatamam prapadyante. There's like a reciprocation with Krishna and his energy. So the more you go into the darkness, the more the darkness goes into you. The more you go into the light, the more the light goes into you. It's like you
become what you're absorbed in.
Yeah.
That's why I'm trying to find this quote now. I don't think.
Beep. But yeah, I'm pretty happy that we're going back down to the conspiracy rabbit hole that we haven't really been down in a long time. Like a lot of our early episodes were centered around these kind of subjects. So it's nice to be back here. But
yeah,
I go on my phone as well.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking for a quote. It's a really good quote.
Yeah.
But what am I searching?
Dunno.
Yeah.
I can go Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare.
Anyway, doesn't matter. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, you had these devotees who were just, they were giving out food in Ukraine, free meals, and a rocket hit the Hare Krishna base where they were living, and one of the devotees on the phone at the time rang, says, Hare Krishna, and phone cut off. That was the exact time when the rocket hit and two devotees left their bodies. He said Hare Krishna just before leaving the world, and it's always a good thing. But yeah, that's why there's no, what's the Krishna consciousness is the solution to the world's problems. Prabhupada he was thinking like that. He was thinking globally. On a micro scale, individually, it can change our hearts, and then also worldwide. Do you know what I mean? It can, like Prabhupada said, we've made so much advancement in scientific comforts and, education and knowledge, yet there's still large-scale quarrels over smaller issues. And he says, why? And he says, because there is a pinprick
in society
at large. And he said, this is why the Bhagavatam is meant for basically a spiritual revolution. Yeah.
Doesn't he say it's like for re-spiritualizing the population or something like that?
Yeah.
It's like a really nice quote.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, he came on the boat, brought a Srimad Bhagavatams with him. Yeah. And Lord Chaitanya predicted one day it'll go all over the world. Yeah. This is the real sort of thing that needs to happen now is a spiritual revolution that people need to be taught. This, like, if you can't change your internal environment, you're not going to be able to change the external environment. So even things like global warming, or how to deal with the planet better, and it's got to start from inside, and then outside will change. But if you don't change people's insides, then the outsides are not going to change either.
Yeah, but it is also the case, like the external will force you to go internal, like on a macro scale. So we see the planet is damaged, so we gotta, like, for me, like, just recently, I think I told you yesterday, I was talking about it, like, just been going through this like mental kind of hellish position, you know what I'm saying? Like, in my mind, I'm just like going crazy and like kind of suffering, like a lot of people are suffering with their mind and their mental health problems, and and it affects your health. It affects the way you sleep, the way you eat, the way you interact with people. Everything becomes really difficult when the mind's super agitated. But that has been like, because there's so much suffering, and there's nowhere, I can't fix it in any way other than, for me, is to go a lot more deeper into chanting Hare Krishna, into practicing spiritual life and taking like shelter of spiritual guides, and it's forced me to go internal. So like that external kind of like torture, suffering, like hell has forced me to go internal, and then the reciprocation comes. Like then you feel, the more you put your kind of energy, attention, focus on really calling and crying and begging to Krishna and the Hare Krishna mantra, the more you feel the reciprocation. So if you think about it, like, society is going to that dark place, and more people are losing their kind of external grip. You know, they're worried about, there's going to be a nuke in Russia next. There's a paedophile ring and the Queen royal family are part of it. Like, there's so much darkness out there that eventually it's going to be like, okay, I need some kind of something to settle me. Maybe that book that monk gave me 5 years ago has something to do with it. Or, you know, like we're planting the seeds and given the tools.
Yeah, I mean, you know, in the communist days, I remember David Meekmar saying, you know, the Krishna consciousness movement was bigger in Poland then than it is now, and people would pay a month's salary just for one Bhagavad Gita because it was so precious,
and it would be like so bootleg copied, valuable. Like written out or something.
Yeah, and as soon as the because it would have been photocopied like 4 or 5 times or whatever in order to try and like spread it. And as soon as the Berlin Wall came down, then these, you know, Eastern European sort of countries really took to Christian consciousness really quickly and real. Like in Russia now, there's been a Christian conscious explosion. You know, because they were hungry for it then, and you know, if you're starved from something for so long, then you know you can understand its value. So yeah, eventually this, you know, I mean, it's happening now. You know, the fuel prices are increasing, therefore it's more expensive to, you know,
heat the house,
pay the bills, get the food imported. You know, even just I had a meeting this morning just about our book printing. You know, the fact that the pound now is so gone down.
It's rubbish now, the pound, isn't it?
It's almost on par with the dollar.
Really?
And
it's horrible.
And you know, Amazon. You know, so we're trying to get books for, you know, paper for books basically, but Amazon basically have booked up all the paper mills for the next so many years because they're using all the paper to, you know, they fill it in their little boxes, in the cardboard boxes.
Mad, isn't it?
Yeah,
just to get thrown away.
And because so many paper mills closed when the Kindles came out, because people thought, okay, this is the future, people are not going to want paper anymore. But actually it was the opposite. It was only for 1 year, I think, that the, you know, electronic books outsold paper ones, and then actually people did desire having physical copies of books, and because all these paper mills closed down, people weren't ready for the demand, and our papers at shortage. And the fact that we get our books, you know, printed and then they have to be driven, you know, by lorry, and because of the fuel prices, so that's increasing the cost of us, you know, books. So we have to, you know, we even have to sell our Bhagavad Gitas more expensive. And
wasn't there as well the COVID, those testing kits? I thought that was interesting.
The testing kits that, you know, the
type of card they used.
Yeah, it was the same type that we would use the cover for our small books, like the Ishopanishad and stuff. So that was also unavailable for some time, or more expensive.
It's crazy how it's all connected. We're actually in this world. Like, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, we're connected to the news.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, there's enough for every man's need, enough for everyone's greed, you know. And there's such a, you know, the mismanagement of resources is just, you know, absolutely criminal. And like I've said before, you know, the standard of living that we are having right now in this Western world is so like artificially, you know, much more than, you know, I mean, people might complain, but you know, it used to be like the fact that you can just flick a switch and light comes on. You know, you don't have to, you know, for thousands of years before, you know, this is very recent, you know, for you flick a switch and there's lights. Before, you know, it's dark, you've got to fumble around, look for the candle, you know what I mean, look for light a match, and then, do you know what I mean? Like, when our spiritual teachers, he has a farm community, and he's saying actually most people just can't cut it, just can't live the way actually it takes to be you know, to live off the land, be self-sufficient. It's hard work because we've been brought up so coddled by this, you know, artificial level of living that is costing a huge part of the world, you know, their, basic necessities of life. So basically we need to have, there needs to be a big, they got this thing a couple of years ago, austerity, and people are having to go at the government. No, we don't want austerity, anti-austerity, but at some point we're just gonna, if we want to look after the planet and if we want to care for the other people in the world, we've got to voluntarily accept a more simple life than what's going on at the minute. So I want to. Oh yeah, the car's a great invention, but but now instead of walking to work, people drive an hour. They just work further away, so it hasn't actually solved any problems. Or I don't have to clean my clothes anymore, so I can buy, because I bought a washing machine and a dishwasher, but because I'm not cleaning the clothes myself, then I'm not getting any exercise, and then I'll buy a gym membership as well. So I go to the gym, so I have to get up early and that. So people's lives aren't getting any simpler. They're not getting any. It's called ugra karma. If you try and solve a material problem materially, then you just multiply the error. So the need, this spiritual input in people's lives is so vital to achieve balance in human life. It's what humans are meant to do. As a human being, self-realization and developing spiritually is meant to be an element of our lives. And then everything works harmoniously with the world. At the minute, if you take out human beings, then everything will go exactly how it's meant to be. So it shows that we're not living,
in sync.
Yeah.
So what's the solution then? What's
like a virus? Was it in the Matrix? The only species
Cancer.
that destroys its own habitat.
Yeah. So Krishna consciousness is your answer.
Yeah, if something's right, then it should fit. And you see what's explained in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada gives a spiritual, moral, and practical blueprint on how to advance spiritually, what practices to do, etc., etc. But Krishna also provides a whole social framework to work within also.
And that goes back to the monarchy as well, isn't it? In one sense, we could link it round, talk a bit about Varnashram for people who've never heard of that system.
Yeah. I mean, it can take different forms, but basically is this idea that everyone has their own. We're all different, and someone has an inclination to a certain type of job or work, and someone else might have an inclination. You have something that's suited to your nature. And then education would be you help the student find out what that is. What are they suited to? What kind of work are they very comfortable doing? And then that's the sort of that's the work they would do, and a lot of it basically is, it'd be a lot more connected to agriculture than we are at the minute. You're more connected to the food you eat, and but you'd have different, they're called kshatriyas, so they're like kings and lords who would manage basically. So they're like managers, and they'd get maintained by tax. But they're not at the top, because they would have the brahmanas, who would be the renunciant spiritualists, who would be like the head of society, that would give them information and teach them on how to rule and how to look after the people. But these brahmanas, they wouldn't get paid, and they'd be fully renounced, so they're not compromised. They're like real anarchists basically, so they don't have anything to do with society. They're just focused on developing spiritually, and they would teach, and they'd get given donations for teaching, and they would only keep what they needed, and then any surplus, then they would redistribute that.
They have like a less invested perspective.
Yeah, so they're not bought. So they're not
bought out by the system.
Yeah, so they give truly, what's the word?
Unbiased
advice. To the monarchy, and then the monarchy should see all of the people as their own children, every human being and animal as like their children basically, and they should see it that everyone under their care is happy. This, instead of what a gross domestic product, measuring a society by that, but actually measuring it by the happiness of its people, and are they advancing spiritually and achieving the goal of life. You'd get another section of society then, which would be the Vaishyas. So they'd be the ones who would, they make the money, they start the businesses, you get people like that. They were just like entrepreneurs. They think about money all the time, one of the things they'd also do is, organize the agriculture and the food distribution and things like that.
Protect cows as well.
Yeah, that's one section of society. And then you had the majority would be, Sudra, so they're just, labor,
crafts, handwork, physical.
Yeah, be in the fields, things and
musicians, different stuff like that.
Artists, but basically there's no, it wasn't like one's better than the other. It's just whatever your nature is, you engage in that, and you in the evenings you discuss about Krishna, spiritual topics. In the mornings you chant Hare Krishna, just like you hear the birds singing in the morning. Then similarly the human beings are meant to make the sound of Vedic mantras in the mornings also. And all of this is how like auspicious society
like harmonious. It's like, because it's living dharmically. It's like living in tune with your nature. Like if a bird just started walking around and wanted to be like a horse, and it started behaving like a horse, it would be like a messed up bird, isn't it? Like a bird just has to fly and do its thing, and then it's going to be happy.
Yeah.
So similarly, if you're not naturally a ruler, but you're trying to rule, then it doesn't work. Like if you're naturally more of a physical person.
Yeah, you want to, that's what, and that's why it's not like, most people, it used to be most people wouldn't go to, wouldn't need to go to university, and, they'd pick up a trade or, something like that. But anyway, it's just,
It's very far away from that at the moment, isn't it? In one sense.
Yeah. Well, that's what the sort of think tanks of, I guess, ISKCON and how do we, because you got to scan the current environment and see, okay, how best do we establish such a harmonious spiritual culture in the, socio-political landscape that we have at the minute. That's what we have to think of. Basically, how we want people to have to, you'd reach a certain level of comfort and mental stability so you can chant Hare Krishna and read Srimad Bhagavatam and try and give Krishna to others. A big problem these days is how annihilated people's brains are from, especially from, I think I saw a quote from, she's a famous singer, Billie Eilish.
Oh yeah.
And she was just saying how she admitted, like, she's experiencing psychological problems from, being exposed to and addicted to pornography since the age of 11, and how that she was watching videos and some horrible things she saw, and it was just a sort of, I don't know, like talk with friends or things like that. And do you know what I mean? I remember when I was younger, at a friend's house, and they showed this horrible website where they'd all these, and it's,
my friends was into that kind of like really dark stuff, like people dying, and like you can get access to that as like an 11-year-old, and just watch it and really scar yourself.
And that's what, there's so much, kids are so damaged now,
And then when you try to take the spiritual life, like this is what I'm saying, I'm definitely damaged, because like my life is very simple. It's coming back and forth to the temple. There's nothing to actually be worried about, but my mind is just like really like raw and screaming all the time. Do you know what I mean? Not all the time, but through periods of time, you know. And I'm sure everyone's like that in some way or another. Like there's something in there that's all screwed up and messed up.
Yeah. I mean, but that's why, you know, that you have to find a
hospital.
Yeah, or like a lifestyle that suits. You know. But I think, you know, it's big. Like just like if you break your arm, okay, you go to the hospital, you fix your arm. You know, similarly, sometimes if we find, okay, we've got problems, you know, psychologically, then, you know, if it's broken, better get it fixed.
Yeah.
You know, so I think a lot of, you know, I mean, that was in the news recently as well. I think some girl, she committed suicide. You know, I mean, it's happening all the time. Do you know what I mean? The suicide rate, it's you know, it's increasing all the time, especially in men. You know, so we, you know, but yeah, that's why you need to, you know, we just be brave enough to seek help, reveal our minds. But, you know, like when we're doing the back of the course, and Nectar of Instruction talks about, you know, you reveal your minds, but only to certain, you know, not to everyone, you know, just certain, you know, people. But you need someone who you can actually speak to. Everyone needs, otherwise you end up suffocating yourself. You need someone to be able, that you can open up to, and that you know that you will accept you. You know, His Holiness Kesha Bharati Swami, he said this, because the Krishna conscious movement is quite new. He said eventually, he said, what this movement needs is grandmothers. And he said what he meant by that, I think, was that, you know, there's some things you can just only go to your grandmother with, you know, who's got this sort of wise, you know, has been around. So like your problems, then it's in perspective, and they've been through it, and it's, you know, and they've got unconditional care and love for you, and they know that, you know, they've been through what you've been through, and they know that your problems are little, and they've got this unconditional care for you, sort of thing. So I think, you know, trying to, you know, it's important to, you know, seek that out, you know, and it's not easy, but to have a relationship, or be able to, where you can actually express your heart to someone. Because sometimes, you know, the first thing that the Maya, or the material energy, will do, especially to anyone who's starting to practice spiritual life, she'll try and isolate you, try and make you feel like you're alone, you know. But that's, you know, but yeah, you're not alone. That's why you gotta be brave to call for help. It's brave to say, okay, look, I'm really struggling here, you know. I had a close friend, and he was going through depression. He was depressed. He had this book about cognitive behavioral therapy, and my wife swears by that as well. She actually quite studied that for some reason, I think, because she used to care for, you know, she used to be almost like a social worker, social carer sort of thing. And anyway, this devotee, so he's practicing Christian consciousness, you know, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, you know, all these spiritual, you know, he was advanced spiritually, but he was reading this other book that was, he said, helped him so much and pretty much saved him, and it was about cognitive behavioral therapy, because he, you know, said he was going through depression, and this, you know, and I was new, I didn't quite understand, you know, at the time I was like, oh, you know, what? But then, you know, looking back on it, it's like, you know, yeah, this, you know, he was sort of like, you know, sensible enough and to recognize, okay, yeah, I've got this, you know, I got this problem, and, you know, and he credited this book with really helping him. Yeah, I
think that's the one beautiful thing about Krishna consciousness is it puts you in a position where you can start to accept this kind of help. Like before, like I'm open to these kinds of things for myself. Before, I'd have been too like close-minded, like no way am I gonna go to any kind of read some book about anger management or anything like that, you know. But like your problems get brought up in a way that you can see them, and you can ask people for help, and they'll give you advice. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it can get you to a position where you're able to start dealing with the kind of the dirt that's in.
Yeah,
you've swept under the carpet for so many years, you know. You can actually, okay, now I need to deal with this somehow or other.
Yeah, and you know, with spiritual life, so much of it is dealing with the mind. You know, the whole 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is basically talking about, you know, how troublesome the mind can be. You know, but there's a certain, you know, it's when we come to spiritual life, there's spiritual techniques and technologies and practices that work, and that you experience, you know, huge upliftments in your consciousness and your well-being. But you know, there's still some things that you know need to take. You know, like you need to find the right lifestyle. Like, for example, you know, Srila Prabhupada, he would see, like, you know, when you had the first devotees who were like joining the movement, they would be like brahmacharis or like monks, renunciants, you know, the men and the women. But then after some time, he was marrying his disciples, and he got some criticism
with
from
each other.
God brothers, yeah.
Not himself.
No, yeah. Yeah, he
just
he
married
said,
everyone.
You marry you marry you. You know. And he actually got criticized by some of his God brothers in India, saying, okay, well, he's a sannyasi, he should have nothing to do with marriages, whatever. But Prabhupada was saying, like, no, this is necessary. I remember listening to a lecture. He was saying, so we're marrying these two people, so then they can be happy. And when they're happy, then they can practice Krishna consciousness. You know, so it was this understanding that there's, you know, things that, like in Hungary, Shiva Rama said, you know, when first, again, when you started the movement, everyone was a brahmachari or brahmacharini, so men, women were both monk, celibate, and everyone, you know, at first thinks, never going to get married, you know, there's no point, you know, just want to, and it can, you know, if one's very, you know, it can be a distraction for spiritual life if one doesn't take their spiritual life seriously. But anyway, Shiva Rama said we need to get land, we need to get a farm, because where are your children going to grow up? And they were like, what do you want about children? We're not going to get children. You know? But Shiva Rama said, no, you will, you know, because he'd seen it before, you know, and, you know, there's a certain, you know, some, you know, so you get people need, I guess they're making the point, like there's different lifestyles and different things that look like it's material, but actually, you know, everything is connected to Krishna. You know, so that's the point of living like holistically and using these things to help our spiritual life, is that we need to use whatever tools are available in order to help us be happy and have a type of psychological, you know, wellness. So then we can practice spiritual life. Then we can chant Hare Krishna and, you know, advance spiritually. You know, when we first come to Krishna consciousness, out of like fear of, you know, because we're so protective of our spiritual life, then we can be, you know, we're almost scared about these material things, you know, because, and some of them are nonsense, you know, but there's things that can help. And I think, I think that as we grow as a society, I'm talking about as the Krishna conscious movement now, then we'll get more and more, you know, used to you know, able to deal with the, you know, troubles that come with us growing up in today's and living in today's society.
Let's get our farm going then, is it?
Yeah, that's the plan. You know, we got 18 months. We want T Krishna built. I'm going
starting October 4th, I think. They're actually starting building. Like, this is an announcement for people who don't know. We were held up because there was bats. They found bats in the roof, which were a protected species. Yeah. We've got a bat license.
Yeah,
we're going to build them a special habitat.
So work will start. That's why I'm going to. A few of us go to India. I'll be going to India on Monday. At some point, go to Jaipur, look for deities.
Can we get some footage of that as well?
Gauritai, yeah. I'll film
I want a lot of footage to look at, like, because it's historical. Like, you're going to go find the deities of Cardiff.
Find Gauritai, yeah.
Gauritai.
And that's what, you know, the blueprint is. You know, in the city centre, we have this, you know, yoga sort of like this temple or this outreach teaching centre. In Sanskrit, they're called mats, places where you disseminate knowledge. But also, the next step will be to find land and a place where we can provide an environment where you can be Krishna conscious from cradle to grave. Where, you have like the Amish, they have completely their own like society, and they even have.
Love the Amish.
They even let
big up the Amish,
and their children at a certain age, they even go out and like try and experience the world.
What's it called? Like a frungle. There's like a funny word for it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going on Frangle Wangle. They go out for a year and they try partying and they don't like it. And
they
go
have something like 93-95% retention rate of the children. They think, no, actually, I'm going to go back and become an Amish.
Yeah.
They help out our Gita Nagari farm, and they do work, and they only get paid as much as they think the work is worth. So it's no like, they don't take advantage. Competitive prices. They're like honest about their. But anyway,
they're happy people.
Yeah, it's an example of like
living in sync with reality.
Yeah, so and I think.
So yeah, we should build a spiritual city.
We need to be protected from these like influences of the world, which are just
degrading.
Just like we just don't want to part. This real rebelling. Like I remember I remember when we were going UK and America going to Iraq. I remember there was this big school march. We all just marched out of school. All the kids rebelling, and so it was like, no, we don't want this. And you speak to most people, and they don't. We don't want this society. And I think that's what we keep your society. We're gonna start our own. And you guys just crack on, like we'll be self-sufficient, and those who want to and then we help people spiritually.
So you got the city centre
as much as possible.
City centre helps. It's like the little outpost that helps people come to pick it up.
Yeah, because that's where you got your because you do have brahmacharis and brahmacharis who are young and want to. And you get there's such an experience that comes from just like really just giving Krishna.
It's amazing that early age of like when you come into the ashram for like the first few years, it's like exciting, and
it's a whole it's giving Krishna to others, and there's nothing better, and then you get what they do in Hungary anyway. Because I was just we got a seminar by one of the leaders of the farm. And he was saying, and then you have the farm then is where they'll get married and they'll raise a family, but then after some time, when their kids have grown up and when they get older, a lot of them want to move then when they're vanapras, which is like a later stage of life, then they want to go back into the city and preach again, now that they've been free from their family responsibilities. And it's like, so it's part of Varna ashram. Varna is the work part, and ashram is the living part, and they both are meant to be in sync, so that you healthily advance in spiritual life, and without any of it being too much to handle, or it's or artificial. You know what I mean? It's not like there's no forced. Anyway. It's
cool. It's exciting. It's like a revolution. It's like we're medics pulling people off the battlefield. The material getting torn apart by the material energy. Come to the farm. Then they gain their strength and they go back out with strength and pull people back. It is a revolution that's happening in Wales. You can see that it's growing. It's building momentum. There's new boys coming along. There's new people coming through.
Already it's
I love that. I love just going out with the new boys. It just charges me up, like, because they got that. Let's go for it. So join the revolution, folks.
Spiritual revolution.
It's cool.
Re-spiritualization of society at large.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
But that's cool. That's episode 50.
That was episode 50.
We're doing over 50 episodes at least. Should we sign that?
You are?
We should pledge to do another 50 episodes.
Yeah.
Today.
108.
You up for doing 50 more?
Yeah, why
kick
not?
me off if you want.
I don't know what we'll do when I'm in India. Whether you carry on with someone else or if I zoom in or something. I'll just see.
People like the ones with PJ as well. You can zoom in. You should zoom in at least a few times.
Might be interesting. I'll keep you all updated with the Ayurvedic
Oh, you're doing it?
I'm getting some. So basically, going to a proper Ayurvedic clinic where I'm getting like proper body reset.
Probed.
So they feed you what they feed you. They give you these medicines. You have certain massages. I think there's.
Is it devotees run it?
I don't know if it's not devotees, but they're like proper Ayurvedic.
Yeah.
You know, like today, like someone will say, "Oh, I study Ayurveda," and it's like, it's not really. You know, these people are like, okay, this is proper. They come from an Ayurvedic lineage. This is, Kesha Bharati Maharaj goes there, Shiva Ram Maharaj, Vaisheshika Prabhu.
They wear turbans and stuff.
I don't know.
Okay, I really want to know. I'm quite a visual, so you're gonna have to tell me what they look like.
There's days where I think you're going to be on the toilet all day because you're flushing everything out, and it's lovely. A real reboot of the body.
We definitely want a blow by blow on that day.
Yeah, day 1, day 2, day 3.
You could do little vlogs.
Tarek did it last time because they don't. I don't know why, but for some reason they don't let you. Like, you're not allowed to shave or cut your hair at all.
Really, you get to grow a beard.
I'll be there for 16 days. I don't really grow beards. I just get like bit of cat fluff on my face,
I'm excited to see it.
But yeah, with beard in it. But yeah, but apparently 16 days is like the minimum. Okay, that's like it must be some kind of cycle
for shaving.
For everything. That's like the 16 days.
Like a month, like a fortnight.
Yeah.
A moon cycle.
Yeah, so 16 days is the treatment basically, which involves all of these different things, and it's basically like it's meant to be like a body reset.
Nice.
And they're
going to starve you. You're going to get
Ayurvedic.
fasted and stuff.
I think medicine's fasting. Yeah, sometimes they give you like laxative. They only give you they cook
Laxatives.
for you. Yeah, like I don't know if it's like all stuff like that.
Sounds really fun.
Some sort of like.
I'm so jealous.
See what happens. Like
I went 16
irrigation,
days of laxatives. You're going to come back weighing.
I think it's though, because so Takanaf, they've got one room. Mishra's got another room. So me and Gopi Gita, because we're going. I think they sort of Takanaf Mishra, we like being around them, and want to help them and find the deities and stuff. And for my wife, it's really, she really needs a break. She just runs around. She's just running around all the time doing stuff. But so we haven't got like much money. And we don't really need, so obviously we've just got one room between us, sort of thing. But that's completely fine. But the problem is that it's only got one bathroom, and you wouldn't think, okay, that's not a problem either. But
it is if you're on a diet of laxative.
Yeah, exactly. So like, what do we? I said, we're gonna have to share the toilet. I don't know what we're gonna do.
This is too much. This is too visual now. Like, we need to change the subject.
I'm gonna have to stand in the shower.
This is worse than the paedophile ring. What you're talking about now? I don't want to hear any more of this, please. Anyway, so that's gonna be fun. We'll look forward to the updates on the laxative party.
Yeah, so I have to.
Anyway, but. It sounds like it's going to be good. You guys will need it. You guys are hardworking.
My health is destroyed, so we'll see what happens. See if it resets. Okay.
Cool. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
50 episodes.
Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Madhya Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shiva